Good morning on this sweet, sweet Sunday. I sure hope that all of y'all are getting ready to head off to your church service. Tom and I are really excited. We've been visiting a new church, feel led by God to go to a new church for a little while, and it's exciting. We really enjoyed it, and we're going to go back again. So really, really encourage you to find your church home. They become family. It's just like another family. And it's important. God created us for fellowship. But we're in 2 Chronicles today, chapters 24 and 25. Things were so bad after Jehoshaphat died and his son and his grandson took over, that Joash was actually 7 years old when they made him the king. Now what happened is the priest, Jehoiada, knew things were so bad that he was instrumental in getting Joash crowned as king. So at 7 years old, this is what you know. You know that he's not old enough and wise enough to rule as king. But he was the heir to the throne. And Jehoiada the priest, who was God's man, put him in place, and then he guided him. And it says that King Joash, did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight throughout the lifetime of Jehoiada the priest. Now this is what it spoke to me. So he reigned, it says, it normally tells us how long. Jehoiada the priest lived to a long old age of 130. I'm trying to look real quick. I thought I could tell you how long Joash. Oh, he reigned until he was 47. So he was king for 40 years. But in the middle of that reigning, Jehoiada the priest, who was guiding him and showing him the ways of the Lord, he died. And when he died, Joash was so weak in his relationship with the Lord that the other people come in and convinced him to do what was evil. So for all these years, he did what was right and what was pleasing in the sight of the Lord, but his dependency on a man was so strong that when that man, the priest, Jehoiada, passed away, Joash was swayed to do what was evil. And I just, in that moment, I just know that I don't want to be dependent on a person. I don't want you to be dependent on a person. Not Elizabeth, not your pastor, not your mom, your dad. I want your relationship. I want my relationship to be so strong with the Lord that if all else falls away, we stand in doing what's pleasing to the Lord. That our relationship is so strong that it's not dependent on a person of any caliber. And then this is when God started dealing with me again about the temple, because it's so interesting how this king reigned and he did what was pleasing in the sight of the Lord, and every one of them that did what was pleasing in the sight of the Lord, when they wanted to please the Lord, they wanted to rebuild the temple. And then an evil one would take over that did what was not pleasing in the sight of the Lord, and they destroyed the temple and they took things from the temple. And so again, I stepped into the spiritual to be able to see this spiritually. That temple represents my body, that today in 2018, July 29th of 2018, represents the temple of the Holy Spirit. And so we go through different seasons in our life, and we go through different times when I'm really, really in tune with the Lord, and I'm being Spirit-led, and I'm obeying the Lord, and it's like I'm rebuilding this temple. But when I falter in that, and I take my eyes off God, and I start doing things my way, it's just like, all of the good that's in me is being taken out by my wrong choices and my wrong decisions. Now, understanding that everything's under the blood, that Jesus Christ died for all of my sins, he didn't take away my ability to make choices. And God sets before me this day blessings or curses, life and death. And when I choose other than life and blessings, then I pay the consequences of it. And I see this playing out spiritually as I'm reading about the temple. So, priest Jehoiada was so powerful and loved the Lord and followed the Lord that so when he died, they actually buried him like a king. He got a king's burial. But Joash was so weak after the priest died that they persuaded him to do evil. And then when they buried him, he had a pauper's burial. They didn't even bury him like a king at all. But in every case when the king did evil, bad things happened to him. In every case, I hope you're hearing me. In every case when these kings made bad decisions, bad things happened to them. It just, even Joash. So judgment was carried out against Joash because he chose to do what was evil in their sight. So let's move on to Romans chapter 12, verses 1 through 21. If you've ever had the question about how do I know what God's good and perfect will is, it's answered in Romans 12. Very specifically, it is answered in Romans 12. Paul is writing this, and so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all that he's done to you. See, the only fight we really fight is against our flesh. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice. Let your body be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind that he will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him. When we give our bodies as a living sacrifice to God, that, you know what we're giving up? We're giving up all of our rights when we're a living sacrifice. In order to have a sacrifice, something has to die. So when I'm willing to die to myself, I give up my rights to be right. I give up my rights to be loved the way I think I'm supposed to be loved. I give up my right to my needs being met the way I think my needs should be met. I give up all rights. A dead man has no rights. And by dying and giving my body to God as a living sacrifice, I am saying that I present myself to you, Lord, as a dead person, so that in you make me alive, and all of a sudden my needs being met doesn't look like what I thought it was supposed to look like. It looks like what you say it looks like, and you meet my needs. I give up my right to be right, and in your eyes, Lord, nothing's right except you in me. And I can give up the right to win an argument for the sake of pursuing peace, because that's what the Bible tells me to do, is to pursue peace. I give up my right to be right. I know that my words are resonating with some of you. God will change the very way you think. It goes on to say, this is truly the way to worship him. Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person. See, Jesus came to make all things new by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. I mean, right there's the answer. I mean, so many of us are searching. I searched for the longest time. I just want to know what God's will is for my life. I just want to know what my purpose is. I just want to know what I'm supposed to do. I just want to know what I'm not supposed to do. I just want to know that I'm pleasing him. How do we do that? He just got through telling us, by allowing him to change the way we think. See, we first have to understand that as a dead man, I have no thoughts. Any thoughts that I have are dead. Any thoughts that I have need to die, so that then he reprograms my brain and he downloads new things. It's in this reading that he talks about what the gifts are. He also talks about the oneness first. We are many parts of one body, and we all belong to each other. See, if I rise up against you, I'm rising up against me. We are one body. If I judge you, I'm judging me. I bring judgment on myself when I judge you. And then it goes into the gifts that we're given. and how we're supposed to use those gifts. 7 gifts are named here: prophecy, serving, teacher, encouraging, giving, leadership, kindness. Those are all gifts of the Spirit that we're given. So we don't just pretend to love others. We allow God to raise us up as a dead man into the loving person in His image that He wants us to be. So these are words to live by. True worship is when we give our body over to Christ as a sacrifice. So I want to read starting in verse 9, and I'll finish up with this. Don't just pretend to love others, really love them. Hate is wrong. Hold tightly to what is good. Love each other with genuine affection and take delight in honoring each other. Do you know how many marriages would be fixed if we just followed those 3 sentences right there? Don't pretend to love others, really love them. Hate what's wrong. Hold tightly to what is good. Love each other with genuine affection and take delight in honoring each other. Never be lazy, but work hard and serve the Lord enthusiastically. Rejoice in our confident hope. Be patient in trouble and keep on praying. No more knee-jerk reaction. When God's people are in need, be ready to help them. And He doesn't say be ready to help them if they deserve it. It is be ready to help them. Always be eager to practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Don't curse them. Pray that God will bless them. Oh, that's not easy to do. We have to be Spirit-led. Be happy with those who are happy and weep with those who are weep. Live in harmony with each other. Don't be too proud to enjoy the company of ordinary people, and don't think you know it all. Never pay back evil with more evil. Do things in such a way that everyone can see you're honorable. Do all that you can to live in peace with everyone. Dear friends, never take revenge. Leave that to the righteous anger of God. For the scriptures say, and I'm coming to a close, I will take revenge, saith the Lord. I will pay them back. Instead, if your enemies are hungry, feed them. If they're thirsty, give them something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals of shame on their heads. Don't let evil conquer you, but conquer evil by doing good. Those are words to live by.